What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jay Rich and my main man Tom back for another Across the Pod, our FPL podcast. We're recording this late on Thursday to get it for you before the game starting on Friday. We have Forest playing on Monday, now they're playing on Friday, and we have a hell of a team to deal with right now, Tom. But how are you doing, my friend? We need to get the people in and out in 15 minutes or less. Are you up to the challenge?
Yes.
Perfect. Then let's get right into it with our team from this past week. Awful. Don't need to say much about it. It was terrible. Saka didn't play, which didn't help us at all. And then Arsenal played horrible on top of that. Midweek, we did see some interesting information come out. Grealish is going to be out along with Doku, which makes a player like Phil Foden very interesting. We have Arsenal and Liverpool this weekend. We have Chelsea and Newcastle, which could be very juicy for everyone who has Cole Palmer. But I think the biggest question right now has to be Liverpool assets and Arsenal assets. So I know, Tom, that you have some stuff prepared. So let's dive into that because we have to give the people a replacement for Saka. Who do you think should be the number one replacement for Bukayo Saka?
God, this is the highlight of my week. The J Rich monologue at the start of the video. It's beautiful. Puts a smile on my face. The four replacements for Saka on your screen: Heung-min, Foden, Salah, and Palmer. And for me, I think I've already got Palmer in my team. I think for me, number one. I just think he's fixture proof. He's great. Salah was probably up there, but just given his price point, it's a little bit more difficult. If you want to, for me, if I'm looking to move Salah in, I'm having to move Havertz down to a 6 million Chris Wood or Raul Jimenez. And I know Chris Wood excites a lot of people, but I just do not get excited by Chris Wood. So for me, it's a bit of a difficult one. If you want to bring in Salah, I think he's fantastic. He's got a tough fixture this week, obviously Arsenal away, but they're without Saliba, so that's another question. But I think after that, they got some pretty good fixtures. They're Brighton at home. They got another home fixture against Villa, which I think will be good at Anfield. And then they got Southampton. So I think a lot of people ditching Liverpool assets. I think they're probably good to hold until game week 12 when a lot of people will wildcard. Phil Foden is just useless in the Premier League, but looks dynamite in the Champions League. So hopefully, he can find his shooting boots for Southampton at home. And it's the kind of game where I can see Man City scoring 6. They've kind of been kept on their heels a little bit last few games. Like Haaland's had not many big chances. They're creating nothing. And I think this is probably either the game where it's 0-0 or 1-0, or they explode and it's the first 7 and we see City start to click again. So I think for me, I think Phil Foden's a great option. Southampton at home. I just love that fixture. Son, I think Palace away is going to be a bit of a tougher fixture than a lot of people think for Spurs.
Really?
And I think Spurs will probably win, but I just don't see them being super prolific. I think it'll probably be a bit of a tough match away from home. And it's a little bit of a difficult one because Son apparently he didn't play midweek, but the plan Ange said was always for him not to play midweek. But he said he came off with some soreness, so they're going to monitor him and then maybe play him. And for me, I'm not sure if I want to go from Saka, who might play, to Son, who might play. So it kind of depends on the press conferences. And if he says Son's fit, I think he is the person. I think he's one of the top transferred in. I think for many people, he is just the perfect Saka replacement. I kind of wish everyone had done it last week. You got the points, but, with more information and everything now, I think it's a good option. So if I was to rank them, and I'm keen to hear yours after. Actually, I want to hear yours first. Let's put you on the spot. Let's hear what you think.
So if I was to rank them right now price does come into this a little bit. Salah wouldn't be number one even for me. It would be Cole Palmer. Newcastle at home, going to be great. Newcastle's awful away. They've been awful away pretty much the whole season, even dating back to last year as well. So he'd be my number one. I do like playing Son, though. I really do. You talked about it last week, and I didn't really give you enough credit in the moment. And then it turns out he almost scored 2 goals. Now did get one, obviously, this past week and looked great. Hopefully he can play. And unfortunately for us, we do have to make that decision before Friday, which makes it much more difficult. But I would probably rank it Palmer, Son, Foden, and then Salah would be last. Obviously, with Salah, you do have to factor in the price a little bit. And Foden, I just don't trust him. You talk about they went, 5-0, 6-0 in the midweek. And Foden scores in the 3rd minute. Haaland scores a ridiculous goal in But in the Premier League, they haven't done any of that. So I'm just very concerned, even with Southampton. And then the other question for you, Tom, is are they going to get a clean sheet? We've been asking this for weeks. Can they get a clean sheet, even against a team like Southampton? So my ranking would have to be Palmer, Son, Foden, and then Salah last, simply because of the fixture. Even without Saliba, I still think you want to kind of stay away, especially with the price difference. How do you feel about that ranking of the top four?
I like it. I don't know if it's right, but I think you I think it's looking pretty good. I do agree with you. Cole Palmer, number one. If you don't have him in your team, easy switch across. A player able to score 4 goals in the first half of any game can go straight into my side against we both know, being Newcastle fans, a pretty lackluster side right now. Like we've looked pretty good defensively, but then switch off, and it's like the sort of team. Chelsea, I think, most shots in the league, most passes. Playing at Stamford Bridge, I can see them doing pretty well. Salah, I said last week that I liked him and he did well. This week,
Yep.
I don't really like the Arsenal away fixture. I can see it being a pretty tentative 0-0 affair. 1-1 maybe. I think with Saliba out, Arsenal are going to look to like tighten up at the back and not be too much forward. And then without the outlet of Saka, it's kind of like, well, what are they going to do? Havertz isn't the most prolific in big games. Like I feel like he goes missing quite a lot. And then you've got the likes of Odegaard still being out. So for me, I think Liverpool, Arsenal will be tight, 0-0, 1-1. So I think Salah's not great for this week, but I do like him if you still have him to hold him for the next few, because I think he's going to do really well. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think Foden, don't trust him. Son, I think, looks great. So there or thereabouts, some good options. Palmer first. I'd probably pick Son second.
Son or Foden for you, it seems like.
Third,
Would you go Salah third?
Foden. I'd Salah
Foden.
Third, then Foden last, maybe. I don't know.
We've been talking about Foden too much, and he's just been shit. So why would we go back to him now, right? It's
I've had 3 weeks of Phil Foden in my team, and it's just taking the air out of me.
Yeah, it's not too good having Erling Haaland right now either, mainly because Foden hasn't done anything to help him out.
Exactly. So I think that's kind of where my head's at. The other thing I wanted to talk about this week quickly before I go on to it is how good Wolves fixtures look from game week 10. So they've got Brighton away this week. Game week 10 onwards, I just don't see a situation where I don't have at least one Wolves player from next week. And I think Cunha looks like a great option at striker. They've got Larson as well, who looks quite good. Mm-hmm. But I'd favour Cunha. And then Ait-Nouri at defence. I think he's going to be absolutely prolific. He scores goals, he gets assists, he's involved in a lot of the play. And Wolves have looked a little bit better defensively as of late. And obviously he's got a few returns. So I think for that fixture run, it's like Palace at home, Southampton at home, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, West Ham, Ipswich, Leicester. I absolutely love it. I don't see a situation where you shouldn't be looking to get at least one Wolves asset in from next week.
Yeah, I think you have to. And, this is something that we've kind of talked about a little bit ourselves, is some of the teams that have really good fixture swings, with Everton having really good fixtures, but Wolves is the one that you mentioned it like 3 weeks ago now, that it's coming and they're going to have a great opportunity to score points even at much cheaper price. You talk about Strand Larson, he scored a goal in each of the last 2 games, and you look now at what they're going to have, and it's just a great run of fixtures. And while it may seem gross to start, but the team is playing much better week in and week out, and I would happily have more than one even in my team. I know El-Nouri is the one, or sorry, wait, let me tell me what his name is. He's transferred in by a ton of people this week, right? So he's a guy that you could definitely have on your team and will perform fairly well. It's just, are they going to get a clean sheet? But at least he's only 4 forward. It's not going to hurt you too much if he doesn't.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason of showing this is with the Saka fire, I'm seeing a lot of people using 2-3 transfers this week to just make moves to get Saka out and get Salah and then downgrade someone, or get in Palmer and then, we may as well get Foden as well and transfer someone out. Using 2 or 3 transfers, when I think ahead you kind of got a plan and realize, don't just use your free transfers for the sake of it. Probably best option this week is just to do Saka straight to Son, save whatever other transfers you have for next week when it's like, okay, probably want to bring in Ait-Nouri or Cunha or something like that. So I think this week, obviously, I think everyone should probably transfer out Saka unless you get definitive news, which you will never get from Arteta. So basically, plan ahead. And I think Wolves is kind of on my radar. And I think the last thing I want to say is like, here's the players which are being transferred in this week. I think most of the people will already have Brian Mbermo. Guardiola, people either have him or Rico Lewis. For me, I have Rico Lewis, but I don't see the value in going up above to Guardiola unless you think he's just more nailed. Son, obviously, second there, and I think that's just straight switch from Saka. And I think that's the most common sense. And I think sometimes FPL is a game where you just have to go with your common sense and go, what is the best one transfer sideways this week? It's Saka to Son, and then leave it. And that's as easy. You don't have to overthink things. Brian Mbermo, you should have him in your team already. And Raul Jimenez, which is, for me, my options this week, I think, are do Saka straight to Son, or do Saka to Salah and Havertz to Raul Jimenez, because I absolutely love Raul Jimenez. I think he has great fixtures as well, and it gets me Salah in the team. So I think it's a question of, do I go a little bit different and get Salah and Raul, or do I just want to play what everyone else is doing? Play the game simple, have a good 11 on paper with, Son playing away at Crystal Palace and looking in pretty sharp form. I don't think he'll play the full 90, but it doesn't really matter because he came away with 12 points last week. So anyone else on that list that kind of excites you, or are they the main hitters for you as well?
Yeah, I think it's really just like Brandon Rodgers if you don't have him in the team. I think he's good. Or sorry, Morgan Rodgers is going to be really good going forward. He's been really good for so long. Keane, I've gone back and forth with Keane, but Palmer, Son, Gavardio is really the only one I struggle with. I don't know why I would pay 6-1 for a defender for a team that does not get clean sheets. Now he's scoring goals, which, I don't know if you saw the goal from this past week. Ridiculous, the goals this guy's scoring, but I don't expect that from him every single week. And so with that, if we're playing more of he can get assists or he can get clean sheets, very unlikely, it seems, from City, even against Southampton. It's not something I'm really betting on right now. You did bring up Raul Jimenez, though, and so I did want to pull up his fixtures because we've talked about with our team right now, just not wildcarding. We're going to hold out. We're going to figure it out. We're going to make it happen. Jimenez could be an option for a lot of people. You see they have Everton away, Brentford at home, Palace away, and then Wolves, and then they even have Spurs, which if you want to have them for that game, you could with how much Spurs are conceding. And then you have Brighton at home after that. So it's a great run of fixtures, and he is playing very, very well right now. If you just kind of show how he's been, he's scored in 4 of his last 5 and has an assist in that other game against City. So he's in tremendous form right now. And at 5.7, even at striker, maybe even a better shout right now than Cunha, but both look to be very, very good as a cheap striker if you're wild carding or if you're just trying to find a player that can fit into your team fairly easily. Now, Tom, you did mention that we have to find a replacement for Saka, but what I didn't get from you is what the answer is going to be for this team. We have Gabriel, we have Trent, we have Havertz, we have Saka, which is not where we want to be considering Arsenal play Liverpool this week. But you are going to make the final call on this one because I did that last week. Saka is out of the team. Who are you putting in his place?
This team is just an absolute disaster, isn't it? We are just crawling towards the Game Week 12 wildcard. I'm just getting hit after hit every week. Eze is still in the team because we've got another injury. But this might be the week. I think Eze 10-pointer is incoming. There's just too, this week on paper, the team looks not great. I think you said earlier, we don't want many from Arsenal and Liverpool when they're going to be playing each other. Don't envision many clean sheets. Don't envision many goals. It's not looking fantastic. For me, straight swap, how much do we actually have? Do we have enough? We have
exactly 10 million.
10 bags.
So we don't have enough to go to Palmer, and so of your options you laid out, we have Son, and we have your boy Phil Foden.
And I know I ranked Son ahead of Phil Foden before, but I think we've already got 2 Spurs players in there, and I think that's enough cover for if Son does well, they'll be involved, and also if Spurs do badly, we're kind of mitigating it with a Phil Foden hat-trick against Southampton, which is clearly going to be willed into existence now.
So that's it? That's the final call? Saka for Foden?
I think Saka for Foden. We just need to get through. What game week is this now? I'm losing my head.
It's game week
9. We got 9, 10, 11, and then we get to wildcard into a sweet, new, beautiful team with no red flags. Getting rid of Eze. Luckily, Matoma went last week. But we can finally clear this team of players. We've still got Barco, who's been on loan to Sevilla since the start of the season. So, yeah, I think Phil Foden, let's make the transfer. Captaincy, I think, is pretty easy. We want to go with Haaland.
Okay.
I'm not sure we want to take a risk this week, unless you think Phil Foden's going to light it up.
You want to go Foden? No, there's no way we go Foden over Haaland. There's just no way. There's just no way. If that happens, I'll be in shit.
Okay,
we just need Haaland to have a good week.
I want a big apology start. I think about 30-second apology at the start of the next video.
If what? So you want to bet me that Foden's going to outscore Haaland? Yeah,
I reckon.
All right. I mean, you're a bold man. I like it. It's not a bet I would make, but are we going to captain him then? So we're making this bet. So are you saying we are going to captain Phil Foden over Haaland?
I'm saying we can stick with Haaland. I just want a very small, heartfelt, sincere apology at the start of the next video if Foden outscores Haaland.
Okay, I can give you that. I can give you that.
Sounds good. Okay,
I can give you that. I can give you
that.
Then
I'm excited. And I'm looking forward. You know what? I'm looking forward to this game week now. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling upbeat. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty.
That's good. I'm glad. That's good for you. That's great because Eze's still on the team after another blank, and I'm not sure how he made that happen. You brought up Son and Johnson and then Madison, who was subbed off at the half. We didn't even talk about that. That was ridiculous. I couldn't believe what I watched with that. But yeah, it's one of those weeks where you just got to tread water. You just got to make sure that you keep a level head, and one day you'll be able to wild card. And that's how it feels for us this week. It's how it feels for me and my personal team as well, just trying to make it happen. But Tom, do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here? My only one is just don't wild card this week. There's just not enough good fixture swings. I would just keep a level head, stay calm. Things will be good eventually. We'll get to the wild card very, very soon. But Tom, do you have any final thoughts for the people on our way out?
I think let's just go with vibes this week. It's going to turn around. We're finally going to have a good week. It's going to happen. I think, play the game like you want to enjoy it. That's what I'm going to do this week. I'm going to stop thinking about what everyone else is doing and just play the game for fun. So let's see what happens. Hopefully next week is a blockbuster. Foden scored 3, Haaland scored 3. Who else? Eze finally.
Oh yeah, you got to get Eze on the board. Yeah,
I think Eze's on the board, and I'll put.
You think he's on the board? Wow.
I think it's finally gonna happen. Surely, against Spurs, a leaky defense. It'll happen. But leaky defense. It's been an absolute pleasure and lovely to see your face again in the lovely lilac. I have to say that's quite your color. What a t-shirt that is.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you to everybody for tuned in. We tried to keep it short and sweet for you. Looks like we're under 20 minutes, Tom. So credit to us for getting the people in and out. We have our Saka replacements. We went with Foden. I think we both prefer Son. And if you can go up to Palmer, definitely would make that switch. Outside of that, though, I would kind of keep an even keel. Don't go too crazy. Don't overthink it. Just, as Tom said, follow the vibes and have fun and enjoy Game Week 9. For my main man, Tom, I am your host, Jordan Richards. You can follow us on Twitter at AcrossThePodFPL, and make sure you like and subscribe to the video as well. Leave us a comment below if you do have any questions, and we'll see you guys next week. We're out. Peace.